Right, hey guys, welcome into the APEX Community Webcast. This week, it's episode 9, as Asylum has helpfully pointed out in the notes for this week. You capitalised it in the title to remind me.
I know!
Because I always forget. This week I'm joined as always by AsylumFPV, and we've got
Hey guys.
DCL legend FILIPPO Viviri. How are you doing, guys? How's it going?
Pretty good.
I'm great. I'm It's been a little bit of a time getting Filippo on here, especially
busy guy.
with busy guy with the DCL draft only winding up last night. We are recording this the day after DCL draft, so my eyes are falling out. That's why. I bet I definitely know more than Filippo's eyes would be falling out with all the work that's been going on in the world of DCL and everything else. So, how you been, buddy?
All good.
All good. For those who don't know, Filippo, where are you from, and how long you been flying, and do you have an FPV name?
Sure. So, well, I'm Italian. I'm from Torino in the northwest of Italy, and I've used to live around Europe for a while. Been living in Spain and in Vienna, Austria, and now I settled come back to the roots. I've been flying since 2016. I was just counting it out before and trying to figure out the calendar.
How long?
Hard to remember. FPV name, it comes from a long history of gaming online. I think I got this nickname when I was 13 or something, which is Freak, with various variations. When you cannot choose the nickname you want, so you need to make a variation of it. So
Yeah, for sure.
Freakiolo, Freak, which brought it in another way. So yeah, various variations.
Yeah, it's always fun when you see people, they go, I'm going to go with this name, and they start Googling it, or they start looking it up, and then they go, oh, there's already that guy. Oh, there's already that guy. Oh, how can I get creative to create my own stamp on it? So yeah, it's actually more fun, I find, in a way, because it's more creative.
You end up putting numbers after your name usually, don't you? 1, 2,
yeah,
3.
I do.
I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
I go 101 for some crazy reason, but anyway. So, what rig are you flying at the moment, Filippo? Are you still flying at the moment, or are you being swamped down with everything else? But I do see some rigs in behind you. So, what's your favorite setup?
I mean, I've got there should be a Chameleon T up there.
Nice.
Should be a Rooster up there, both Armatan.
Yeah.
That's no wait, that one in the court. This one is the Armatan, and this one should be. It's a rig that we use in the DCL 2018, which is a Rotorama, a big beastie one, like 700 grams.
Wow.
And yeah. It was the one that I used because it was completely set up as for the real races, so for testing it and so on. And since this then pandemic started, of course the FPV flying has been dwindling down sensibly. Plus over here, I mean, personally, I've always been a fan of freestyling more than anything. So with everything that is going on, it's difficult to meet up with friends, if it's already uncomfortable to explain to a policeman what you're doing trespassing in a factory, with the addition of over everything that is going on. Pretty much for the last year and a half, we haven't been able to
comes to a bit of a stop.
Yeah.
I know the feeling. Like, I know 2020, we're doing bits and pieces, and I had police coming up to me going, you do know that it's a $2,000 fine for being out doing what you're doing right now. I'm like, all right, see you later. Yeah. I'm going home, because I'm not copping that, But yeah, it's been definitely difficult getting out and flying with your mates and catching up with people, let alone racing. But have you ever raced in any of the local leagues or anything like that, Filippo?
A little. Mostly, my racing experience has been limited to DCL. As in, again, like I'm more a fan of freestyling and a little bit of medium range, let's say. So yeah, I've been flying a few times over here with a little field that a friend has nearby. Done a couple of races in Austria when I was there. But yeah, mostly it was about DCL and DCL races and track design and all of that, mostly.
So how did you get into?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, cool. No, you're fine. So how did you get into game designing, and how did you end up at DCL? Because surely going from a FPV pilot into, obviously you would have been studying and whatever else to be a game designer and a designer and stuff, but the stars must have aligned something chronic from being an FPV fan and pilot to being in designing and running and everything else with the DCL. Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, actually, a little bit upside down, meaning that I've been developing video games and doing 3D graphics in particular since my the beginning of my career. So since I got in, since I still was in university. And I've been at the time, in 2016, I was at that time working for an Austrian company in Vienna, developing games. And I knew nothing about FPV. I didn't even know it existed at all. I mean, drones were just like, I think there were some phantoms going around at that time, but really that was it, like mainstream wise. And in the meanwhile, there were Charpu and the others like doing like, so yeah, I started because the owner of DCL at the time contacted the video games company I was working for because he wanted to start developing a video game about DCL. DCL at that time didn't really even exist properly. I mean, they were building it, but it wasn't even called. They were doing test races, but there was already this vision of developing a video game. So so I was chosen to work on the project, and Herbert came with a pilot, a young pilot. I don't remember, Stefan Meyer, I think, which seems has disappeared. But they came over and experienced FPV for the first time. So we went in a field, and at first, they had a couple of goggles, and Stefan would fly, and they would let us see what was what. That was like, I found it incredibly cool. I mean, I always had a passion for the flying idea, really, because I couldn't really ever do it. And it felt great, and they even let us do 100 meters up and down, finish turn and then crash it, but it was amazing. So since then, the whole Pandora's box opened. I started devouring content online, and
the addiction was full.
I think that's probably a similar experience to everybody who gets into FPV. Like, you try it for the first time, you experience it the first time, or you see it, etc., and you start, and at that time was really maybe not the very first wave of FPV, but we were talking about Mr. Steele, Sharp, who was still flying, properly, the beginning of Rotor Riot and all that stuff. It was cool. And then I started. Basically, we were supposed to start doing this prototype in a month or so, and I was so into it that I started doing it at night by myself. So that basically in a month or so, I've mashed up together an actual very basic FPV simulator. I had to figure out how propellers work, how the thing flies. Like, I had to study and go bother my friends to ask how the heck this PID thing works, like the math behind it.
JB videos like the rest of us, full stream.
I still don't know. It's been like 3 years. I'm like,
yeah, it was.
We're learning through the game.
true.
I had to understand the math behind it and the physics behind it. So yeah, but it was a great journey. And then since then, like, I just got into it, started building my first drone, and but I was basically already building my own simulator before. I was still waiting.
I was building the fly.
To arrive at the actual drone,
Wow.
to be able to fly it in real life. So yeah, and since then has been like very, progressively became my full-time job. First with this prototype, and then with DCL, and then we started with real life events with DCL, and it was a great journey. Yeah, very cool.
So when you joined the team, how much of the environment was already done, or they just have storyboards or rough ideas of where they wanted to go, or did you just literally turn around and go, I'm going to build this from scratch, and then we're going to go from there?
It was completely from scratch. I mean, the idea behind it was like, okay, I want to make a drone racing simulator.
Yeah. But nothing else. They had no idea.
Yeah, literally everything needs to be figured out. But that's pretty common in game design, right? I mean, I write somebody with a bit of money that says, okay, I want to invest my money into X time of development, and then you need to figure it out, like from scratch, from the design of the game to the actual, how long is it gonna take, how much is it gonna cost, like what we can afford to do. I mean, eventually, it's the production is the creation of a product, like many others, like a movie or a book or something like this. Yeah. So you start from scratch, and you need to figure it out as you go, right? Like you need to, make a plan, make a design. You actually start from what we call GDD, which is a game design document, which is literally a Word document where you write down everything you want this product.
A bit of a storyboard, right? A bit of a plan, a bit of a direction piece, and then you can spawn off from there.
How many environments you want? Is it gonna be realistic or science sci-fi, or is it gonna be cartoonish? How is it gonna work? How many game modes you're gonna have? Like how much content? How many drones? Like, are you gonna allow customization to happen? Are you gonna allow to change parts? And, everything that you see the game it is now. Somebody at some point thought about it and
put their 2 cents in. But talking about that though, especially when you've gone from such ground roots and you're grinding away, making, coming up with these ideas and getting the baseline down, what was the hardest environment or component of the game to create? Was it the physics and making it feel like actually a real drone, or a certain, like, say, Prop Town was really hard, or was there one environment that was harder to do than others?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, as far as environments goes, definitely Prop Town was the most complex and most technically challenging. And as usual, the biggest issue is always fighting with the optimization and performance. Because obviously, I mean, the game needs to run on a wide spectrum of PCs,
platforms. Computers.
Consoles are always the bottleneck as far as performance goes, right? On a PC, well, first of all, they're generally more powerful as they go than the consoles, except for that little period when a new console just comes out, which maybe is under compared to the equivalent cost PC. But for the rest, consoles are the biggest limitation. Plus, it's also harder to the development for them, because on PC you can pretty much shoot out betas and updates much more freely. while when you go through the for consoles, that you actually need the approval on every single step from Sony and Microsoft, which is an incredibly
painful experience.
Yeah, it's a very long process. It can be really painful. Speaking of which, like apart from the environment, probably a couple of the most frustrating things were updates for I think the day one patch on PS4 and the 102 on Xbox, where you have these thing like where you maybe have a crash that it happens, and it happens one time every 20, and it's incredibly painful to find what that is, because if you can reproduce
you can eradicate it.
Yeah, I do this and that happens, like you're gonna figure it out, right? What's the problem?
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Once every 20 times, like, oh god. And then maybe with this stuff, like it took us probably a month and a half to go through the submission. So the game was ready to click the button and publish on PC and PS4, and then it took us like a month and a half to figure out that one problem. Well, another problem, and pass Xbox One submission, right? So,
it just held up the whole process in the end, because you're sitting there going, it can't go until we finish this one thing, and it's just like, such an annoying little bug to work out.
You also want to have the same game version on all the platforms, right? Because they're working on the same server, right? So I can't have somebody flying with certain rules and settings
on one
in the same competition, So
absolutely.
It's complicated, complicated stuff.
And to be completely honest, the way that they all seem, and even between Shane and I, like Shane flies PC now and originally started on PlayStation, and that's where I found him pretty much, and we started Alpha Prop. But the times between the rest of the teams and everybody else now, like, okay, there's obviously going to be hardware issues, as you say, right? There's always going to be, your frames per second, your hardware, and your refresh rates and all that type of gear. But this year especially, I found, because I'm still running PC, I'm still running console, I'm still running PlayStation, I'm still running a damn PlayStation controller, for crying out loud, even though I've bugged you multiple. Really I've bugged Filippo and the guys over on the Discord, the DCL Discord, multiple times about, how do I get my damn Fly Sky to work, or this or that or something else. But there is still a new controller coming, all right? It's coming eventually. Eventually. But to get all of them to have competitive times across all the platforms, and only the fact that you can have competitive times across these consoles, and there's no real difference between them. Do you know what I mean? It really comes down to the pilot then, which I think is amazing, really.
It's funny because I found initially, obviously, I started off on the beta on Steam, like all those years ago. I remember it. I'd been playing other Sims. It popped up on my recommended, and I was like, "Hey, this looks cool." I Googled, YouTubed a little bit, and you kind of discover that there's this whole world outside of just the game, and it was kind of like fascinating to me. So I downloaded that, and I remember playing. It was the Lax track, I think, that was on there for a while. And you set the times against bots and other things. It was just really good fun. But I'm lazy, and I like to play video games from my bed where I can. And obviously my PlayStation was kind of sat under my TV, and I was like, So I grabbed it on there as well. And obviously initially there was that kind of, there was a sort of a gap between, I think, the console versions and the PC versions for me. But it just seems like this year, and since the virtual season last year, that gap has kind of, it just seems to have dropped down. I don't think, we've got Shreds on our team is flying on both. His times are basically identical now. It's incredible that you guys have managed to get the performance to be so level across the
linear
board, and you see the fastest times on a PlayStation 4, for example, are just on par with some of the fastest times on PC. It's incredible. You guys have done a fantastic job with that. It's really good to see.
Thanks. So the obviously for the hardware you have, today for the price of a PS4 you can get a PC that performs better. So
Sure.
especially, you know, you can smash, you know, you can put the PC on super low settings, like, you know, most people do, because it's obviously, it gives an advantage to have 120 FPS.
Absolutely.
Compared to the consoles where that's fixed at 60. It's not. I mean, the game is identical, right? I mean, the physics are the same, the code is the same, the environments are the same, tracks are the same. But for FPV, it really matters. Like that millisecond.
Those milliseconds.
Twitch fibers.
It makes a difference, and
well,
I mean, your eyes cannot perceive more than 20-30 FPS, but you definitely feel something smoother rather than not, and it just feels different. But apart from that, we're you know, extremely proud of being able to, especially to allow the controller support on PS4. The transmitter.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's a godsend.
It was. It was an interesting journey, that too, and we're still the only one between our competitors.
I was going to say, you guys are head and shoulders above everyone else in terms of the controller support. I mean, that is one reason I think why so many people gravitate towards DCL the game is because it's, if you've not got a PC, and I know a lot of people nowadays do learn on a PC, you sim because it's cheaper than breaking quads. So to have that on a console for people that don't, maybe they're not interested in the kind of technical side of building a PC, that is what we gravitate towards, because it's, you know, hey, you can learn and sim on here just the same as you would in real life. You know, that was a great move by you guys, and like I say, the only sim I think at the moment that does.
And
was that a plan for? Sorry, go. No, I was just going to say, was that from the get-go that? Sorry, was that from the get-go that was planned to have radio support? Was that going to be a main selling feature?
That's what I was saying. Like, we
so
always wanted to. I mean, it was always obvious, right? That you know, experiencing the game with a gamepad is very much different than from a transmitter. And it was always technically possible. I mean, like, even now, we would just need to press a button to make it work on Xbox, right? It's just that the platform holders are very, very picky on what kind of devices they allow you to make it work on their consoles, right? The moment you allow an infinite range of USB devices on your platform, you're, you know, inviting for all sorts of crazy stuff happens. I mean, I remember a scandal. I don't remember in what esports game where people would use a modded mouse. That because they allowed you to use your mouse, and that mouse had you know, a USB stick inside and would, you know, pass code into the gaming PC and install a hack, right? So that's what the console holders don't want. So they fight really hard for you know, for any kind of new device. Plus we didn't just want to support one device. We wanted to support hundreds, not hundreds, I mean, dozens of transmitters, right? Which change every year, every quarter,
firmwares, new hardware,
new firmwares, So we had, you know, to develop a clever system, I think, that Sony went along with. I mean, we've been negotiating with them for 6 months, probably.
That's probably actually pretty good for them. I would have thought they're like 12 months plus.
Just to get a reply.
I mean, no. I mean, obviously we were in contact with them for publishing the game itself. But yeah, just this thing about the controllers has been, you know, long and hard, and it was eventually successful on with Sony, not so much with Xbox, unfortunately. Because then again, for us, it's really just to press a button at this point, right? Like the support is there, it just cannot be used. Same thing for cross-platform play. I mean, for us, like, for us, a pilot that connects to our backend, we don't care if it comes from PC or PS4, right? We will just be able to make them play together. It's just like, again, for us is relatively easy. But there are a lot of difference of policies between Sony, Microsoft, and Steam. Even just like naming, the most basic thing is naming policies, right? There are certain things that, you know, of course you cannot use swear words and certain stuff like there's a little stuff that if you try to set that as your PSN username, it just refuses to do so, right? But then Xbox has different ones, and Steam doesn't have any at all. I mean, you can put anything in your name. So what happens if I put somebody with these things in the same race floor room, right?
Yeah, it's all going to get bounced and confused.
It would break somebody's, you know, terms of service, right? Like, it's surely.
For sure.
And that same goes also for more technical stuff like security protocols and all that stuff. It's more like that console platform holders don't want to have cross.
Yeah, they want to keep it close to themselves and licensing, and they can make money off it if they keep it to themselves. But from a community and especially with the DCL game and stuff like that, where we all want to get together, we all want to race together and have our great big, huge DCL lobby. Yeah, so do we. Don't worry. So get out there, people. Start rallying against Microsoft and play Estonia and start banging on their door. We want it. No other game, just DCL. That'd be great. I'd be happy. But that'd be awesome. So is that still something that the DCL is going to potentially push maybe down the track, and they're going to keep fighting for, you know, cross-platform, or is this just going to be a case of, well, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't?
No, for cross-platform on consoles, it's not going to happen by now. I mean, it's not even. I think there are only very few examples of crossplay supported between platforms, and to be frank, we don't have the negotiation power, the political power to go to the CEO of Sony and say, hey, you gotta do this for us, right? I mean, we're not
Okay? Well, I mean, look at some of the biggest games with cross-platform at the moment. It's really the only one that really springs to mind is probably Call of Duty Modern Warfare with the Warzone thing.
Exactly.
And that is it. I mean, there's very few other games out there that people really know and appreciate, but it's the big boy studios, isn't it, that kind of have the real push power when it comes to exactly. But I mean, the thing is, you guys dropped the patch recently, and there's been improvements to the multiplayer experience in particular.
Oh yeah.
How are people finding that? Have you guys been getting a lot of feedback on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's this has been a very long time requested feature to be able to play in custom made race floor rooms, which, you know, fair enough. I mean, we frankly we always wanted to do it as well. It was just a matter of, you know, resources and time and effort management, where because it's fundamentally different from the way RaceFlow worked before.
Totally.
And the first version with the automated matchmaking, basically, it was a lot cheaper, let's say, to develop. So it took us a while to find the time and the resources to implement this, but we were, you know, very, very happy to do it as soon as that was possible. And that allows any player to create their own rooms and control them. So decide if they just want to do the one race after the other, or if they want to do the race flow kind of mixed thing, fly on whatever track they want, kick the people they don't like. I don't know, whatever. All this kind of stuff. And also that allowed us to as well create what we call the private tournament build, where basically private organizations and teams, etc. Can ask us for a special build of the game where they can basically organize tournaments for their players. Independently, and at that point they will have full admin controls on the game, and also controlling who gets in, who gets out, set passwords, and all of that stuff. So yeah,
Wow.
that was like two birds with one stone kind of thing.
We kind of seen that
brilliant.
for a little while, certainly on the PC. But I know Drone Sports, I think, have had their own private rooms a couple of times. And
The academy
everyone
room
sees them
and
in
everything
there, and
else.
they're like, "Oh, what's this?" And you click on it, and it comes up with a password, and you're like, "Oh, this looks
Yeah.
cool." So yeah, we've seen it coming for a little while now. But no,
But
yeah, go on.
those are events. So in a time attack mode, let's
Sure.
say, and we always had them, private rooms. You can just make a private room with your own sponsor and whatever you like. But now we actually offer this private tournament build where you can do race, like you can actually
Live.
do basically a DCL race
Yeah.
with proper
Cool.
real-time racing privately with your teams, with your rules and all of that.
Yeah, I think that's great as well. It certainly for teams, if you're, because obviously you guys are really pushing now the whole hybrid season, the esports thing. I know we saw you guys on some other webcasts and things quite recently about the kind of the push for more green sports and all this kind of stuff, and the hybrid season. I mean, DCL in real life is a fantastic push towards that kind of energy efficient thing, but having the esports side of it and the hybrid season as well, it's just that extra kind of thing. But obviously you guys are really keen on pushing that esports sort of feel, and obviously with the Twitch streams and things last year as well, it was just the production values were just next level. That's the kind of thing that we'd expect from a huge, long-standing company, the likes of Call of Duty, for example, with the kind of virtual desks and all that stuff. But I think that's a fantastic way for teams to really. It's not just DCL that's pushing the game on online in terms of esports, but other teams can start hosting tournaments. I think we've seen a couple on Twitch that kind of pop up, and every now and then you'll get someone will host a tournament, and there's a few people kind of flying in a live online sort of environment. I think it's a really cool thing to see now, like coming from a year or so ago where you'd get a couple of streamers here and there would fly it in amongst other games. Now we're looking at potentially having not just the DCL season, but individual teams and sponsors coming out with their own thing, just really pushing the brand.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, this thing of the hybrid season was always a goal for DCL from its inception. I mean, from the very beginning, Herbert, the founder, had this vision where he said, like, look, drone racing is so close to a real life video game that we cannot miss out on the opportunity
VR
of mixing
goggles,
the two
man,
things,
the
right?
whole.
I mean, the dream was to have a real and virtual seasons, going together for the entire season, and make it work together, make it interchangeable, and make people go from being a gamer to fly real drones and vice versa. Then, of course, like COVID hit, and that went
the whole story went out the window.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, to be clear, we stopped doing real life events so far, not because we wanted, but because of these really unfortunate, terrible things that is happening, which made absolutely impossible to make any kind of
travel,
public event, let alone plan it 6 months before, right?
Absolutely.
Because these things for us, like you need to plan an event in a city, I don't know, 6-8 months before, right?
Oh yeah. Permissions alone
you
to
need
fly.
to negotiate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you need to negotiate and get the city to agree. Then you need to, we're shipping 3 containers.
Promote shipping.
So and if the containers don't go around, right, and then what city is gonna give you the permission to do so 8 months in advance, when they don't even know what's gonna happen next month, if they're gonna have enough people vaccinated, right? I mean, it's been from this point of view, it's been a pain of a couple of years. Like, by all means, like, this is just for us. It's just work. I mean, there's terrible things going on around the world.
Yeah.
So, but this is, a tiny little one of them that affected us. But fortunately, very fortunately, we were already developing the virtual season.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because the timing was almost impeccable. Like, here we were going into the game was just released type of thing, And then all of a sudden, especially even here in Australia, we started getting locked down. And I've mentioned this before on the webcast that I was still flying around. I was doing, and, and parts of Europe are already well and truly into the depths of, the pandemic. And then all of a sudden we all got locked down, and then the draft came along. It was like the perfect timing in a perfect storm that the game had dropped. And then all of a sudden, like, to me, and I probably speak for Shane and the rest of the Alpha Prop, to be completely honest, DCL was like the light that kept us kind of going, because at the same time we all of a sudden got locked down. We all couldn't fly because most of us in Alpha Prop couldn't fly, and then all of a sudden that was our only out. And we just all kind of thought, well, was this manufactured? Was this perfect timing? It had to be perfect timing. Nobody would have seen this coming.
This is the thing, though. I mean, you guys have obviously the sim has always played a big part in the real season anyway, for qualifying and all that kind of stuff. But it's DCL as a whole, throughout the entirety of this pandemic, you kind of wouldn't know that there'd been anything on the go. You were kind of like just business as usual. It's just felt like I don't know
what we were doing.
I don't know whether it's like the kind of duck where the head above the water is all calm and serene and the legs are just going like crazy. But it really hasn't felt like it's held DCL back in any way. That season was so successful on Twitch. Hundreds of thousands of people watching at a time. Millions in some cases. And then, the development on the game has continued, and the engagement on platforms like Discord and Instagram and stuff. I think having that side to it, and like you say, the engagement on social media and all that kind of stuff has just really pulled people through and given us something to look forward to. And I know, like, certainly the Alpha Prop guys they're so grateful for it, because you guys have built relationships between people around the world that
would never have met. To be completely honest.
Exactly. I mean, we've Alpha Prop alone, we've got guys from Liechtenstein, we've got guys from Tim, obviously yourself in Australia, I'm in Guernsey, people in the UK, Lil in America.
Yeah.
It's crazy just how I mean, I never thought a year and a half ago that I'd be sat here on a webcast, for example. It's crazy what DCL has become for all of us, and how it's helped us all through this. And I mean, it's been a fantastic way to sort of really push the brand, and I think you guys have really used it as a great stepping stone for that. And we're certainly really hyped for this season to come along and see what it brings.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's for us obviously a great satisfaction if we could give even a few minutes of entertainment to people in these
more than a few minutes, but
times.
Hours and hours and hours.
I think I got arthritis in my thumbs now.
There's an achievement in the game for like 100 hours with one drone or something like that. Years ago.
That's gone. It, mate. That train is gone.
Yeah. The first month, I think it was. That was done in the month.
It's obviously a great satisfaction to us, and it's also very cool to see the races, the virtual races that we're doing. It's a very interesting experiment that, I mean, it's certainly not first of its kind. I mean, there has been other esports that have connected people from all around the world, but surely not that many. And it was a very cool experience for us. Lots of learnings, of course, and improvement. But now seeing especially the last races of past year, and of course the new races that we're gonna do this year. It's really cool to see, this level of quality of production that we try to keep as high as it was with the real life races, but having all these people connected together. I mean, like even us, like I'm sitting here doing race administration in Torino. Other people are in Liechtenstein. Other people are in Austria. The TV production is in Poland. The commentator is in the UK, and he's sitting next to a guy, virtually sitting next to a guy
in Spain,
which is maybe in Spain or Germany, right? Let alone the pilots, racing together. For somebody is 4 a.m, for somebody else is 8 a.m.
We saw that with the Twitch streams as well. the races were kind of at different times during the day, because it was like, well, it's kind of unfair on China Dragons or you know, Supersonic X for us to be flying at the equivalent of like 3 in the morning. Like,
in the morning.
Or like Minjae's like in the middle of his exams, and you're kind of asking him to fly in the middle of the
doing
night.
this, and Minchan's doing this, and you know, Thomas Bismarta's doing that, and the guys in APEX are doing this, and it was just like, wow. And yet they're all still competitive, they're still ripping hard, and everybody was still really enjoying the stream.
The passion for the sport.
You speak of passion, like some of these pilots, I know that they actually switched their mental time zone for
line up
a week for the race, right?
Wow.
Because you
Commitment.
don't just like live your life as usual and then wake up at 4 in the morning to do a race, right?
Heck
So
no.
you know, some people actually change their life rhythm
Sleep
for like a
patterns.
week to get used to, you know, to stay awake at night and do the race.
That's what it's
because otherwise
come
you're
to.
legit like.
That's
I mean,
it.
That's what I love about it.
Dedication, like.
That's commitment.
The thing, wasn't it? Like, you look at the likes of Formula One and these kind of big, real kind of IRL sports. There's a lot of psychology and that kind of like that dynamic to it, where people, what is going to give us the edge in this race, or you know, that kind of stuff. It's crazy to see that drone racing. Like, I never thought. You look at the kind of things that we've seen in the past, and it's like, oh, people just rock up on the day, you plug your lipos in, and you go and fly the track.
Off they go.
Now it's becoming really serious. Like, it's literally like there's trade secrets and don't talk about this, and like that's crazy.
If you change your PID, don't even think about it. Yeah. But talking about that, what actually goes into the production of the stream? Like, we all see the finished product on our end, obviously, but are you running around in the background, or you know, you just fine tuning stuff with the guys, or from your point of view on a stream day, you're just like, man, I'm just going to sit back and watch the stream. But so how much work actually goes into the stream? I was going to say I wouldn't think so, but hey.
No, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's obviously months of preparation that starts from the from months and months before of negotiation with the virtual locations, with the teams. You know, even just writing the rule set is not just something that, you know, the rule set is, I don't know, 40 pages or something that covers everything. And and this year, since we have a new format, we rewrote most of it, right? So already just that took months, right? And that's all. Plus, of course, you know, the preparation of the environments, of the tracks, of the features of the game. Because you know, obviously we keep going with the development, and there are still things that are updated or that are special for the race build, right? Because you know, you need to lock certain things, you need to allow some others, like you need to. We give the teams a training version of the build where they can train privately. And they need to be able to do it in their own private rooms, in their own times, without interference from other teams. Then we need to worry about you know, the qualifications, the free training, the preparation with them, like the rehearsals, all the technical stuff, like to actually get, you know, 40 people on a webcam working properly with the proper audio, etc. You know, that's, you know, with the green screen and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
we struggle with 3 sometimes. Okay, so we get it. We get it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, especially green screens,
during
problems.
And the races are live. So it's not like you can just say, okay, we're recording this. Okay, there's a problem. We'll fix it in half an hour and we'll cut the problem and nobody.
The feed,
it's got to work.
Got to notice it.
It has to work in that time, and I assure you that having 40, 50 people, including young pilots, including people maybe not, so it's not easy to get everything to work. And then there's the race weekend, right? And in the race weekend, I mean, personally, I'm race admin, as I've been last year. So obviously setting everything up all day. Last year was the qualification rooms. This year we have a different system and format where qualification is not necessary. So we just do free practice, which is another interesting thing. Maybe we can discuss it later. But
sure.
So you know, set all of those things up. then make sure that everything works, solve the problems for the people that doesn't work for it, right? Like this guy have, there's million of things that can go wrong, and they usually do.
For sure, guaranteed.
So we need to solve all of those issues. And then during the races themselves, I'm the one in the main race room, literally checking that all the right pilots are in, making sure that only the ones who are supposed to race are actually forced as spectators, because they're watching the race while the other two pilots of the team are racing. And communicating with the teams, like, okay, we'll take off in 30 seconds and actually start the race, change the tracks, all that stuff. Plus, of course, solving all the issues and the problems that come up as they usually do.
And that's an interesting point, though, because I was curious on how many queries and problems have come up from the pilots, either on race day or leading into race day, but mostly on race day. How do you fix them on the fly? Or is it just literally, I've got a problem, how do I do it? And you guys just go work your magic? Like
No, it depends. I mean, we have of course a support team during the race that that is taking care exactly. It's not just me. It's me and a bunch of other people.
How big is the team anyway? Sorry to interrupt, but I just okay.
Yeah, it depends on the team has been. I mean, just for the game has been ranging between 5 and 20 people, depending on the stage of the production
development
of the game.
Okay.
During an actual race weekend, it gets a lot bigger because there's also all the it changes a lot. But anyways, like kind of problems like, I don't know, this guy for some reason has 2000 milliseconds ping. Why? So you start trying stuff like try to use a VPN, try to use close your stupid firewall or whatever, right?
Turn iTunes off or something.
From
stop watching this stream.
Connection issues or and then we have a system in game exactly to take care of lag, where we basically delay what we show to the spectators by a certain amount of time, so that the system has time to catch up with the lag from the pilots, and interpolate between what it has, so that the spectator still sees a smooth experience of what's happening. While the pilots themselves, instead, that would be a problem for the pilots, because if they've seen the other pilots next to them, like 2 seconds with 2 seconds delay, like they would have no perception of what's going on in the race. So for the pilots, that setting is different to the bare minimum, which they don't care if they see it, lagging, stuttering a bit, but it's better for them to have it a more accurate representation of what the other pilots are doing. So this kind of stuff. And the other guy that the game crashes for me. Why? Why now? You're telling me. So giving the bill with the logs so that we can find out like what's exactly is failing, and then you find out that maybe it has a gamepad controller that is not supposed to be attached. That is for some reason the drivers are great. There's a million things that makes it always interesting.
It sounds so stressful, but when we're watching, you're watching on Twitch and it looks absolutely perfect. You just got no idea. Everyone behind the scenes is like, ah.
I think the hardest thing is we're sitting there in the stream, either watching the race and enjoying the show, or bugging Matt to sing. I think that's the most stressful thing, But yeah, it's funny that from our point of view, we kind of take it a little bit for granted and really enjoy the show. Absolutely. And we really do enjoy the show and the quality of it. Absolutely, that's what we're all here for. But to understand that there is still an absolute bucket load of work going on in the background, with hats off to you guys, because it definitely works, every race day in, day out. And yeah, as I said before, we're just absolutely loving the show. So, talking about that, are we going to see any more new environments? Can you drop us a little hint? Is there going to be any more new environments
You
this
always
year in the
want
race
more,
season?
Asylum. More,
I want more. I know,
We're-
DCL Jess. I'm not bringing out the crystal ball again, okay? Because I'm already, I've
Too many
already called enough in the last month and a half. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, Jess.
we're working on that. Just these days actually, and yeah, they will certainly be used for some of the virtual races this year. We're currently working on 2 new ones, and as soon as we'll be able to, we hope to release it to the public as well.
little,
Yeah,
little
Yeah,
teaser
beautiful.
or something on Instagram on the story, just to kind of, little.
Well, no,
Snapshot.
absolutely not. Like, can't do.
Damn it.
But then, like, before you, sorry, you just mentioned. I just want to backtrack to what you said before, like, to the difference between what you see on the TV show, on the Twitch stream, whatever,
Yeah.
and what we experience as creating of making it happen. Like sometimes there's such a dissonance, right? Because I remember especially was 2018 in real races. There were some real races that were absolute nightmares for us. I mean,
Yeah.
Really?
in Madrid, like just for all, like in Madrid, like to build the net roof
Oh,
above
yeah,
man.
the
Yeah.
dude, we slept like 2 hours per night for an entire week. I swear, like I'm not joking. Like all night until 6 in the morning trying to build that damn thing, and then it doesn't work, and then you need to
This
find another
keeps
thing.
collapsing.
Like it has been, some
Oh,
races
no.
have been like
Just absolute
incredibly
nightmares.
hard.
Right, I
Yeah,
saw the
plus
Paris one
technical
as well. Like
stuff.
the whole track in Paris was just like a big net tunnel, and I'm looking at it like,
Paris
how
was
do you even
absolute.
do that?
No, listen, Paris was complete madness, and it was a miracle because that was the first real big event we did.
Yeah, yeah. I
There
remember.
was a massive crowd of 150,000. I don't know how many.
Yeah.
There
like,
was a
It's
lot
packed.
of people.
a massive crowd. Like it was the first real big event for us, for the team, for most of the team anyway. Like 70% of the team was like their first experience in DCL.
Yeah, I bet.
For the teams, and for the pilots in the teams, like how we pulled that one off, like eventually. And I mean, it had its issues. Like it definitely had its issues, but it was fun as heck, but really, really difficult. So anyway, yeah. Point being that there's often a great discrepancy between like the experience of making a race and fighting and struggling and not sleeping and all sorts of stuff. And sometimes those are the best events if you just filter it right from the eyes of the camera and you just have the event. Maybe we're screaming at each other 5 minutes before, but then we're live and it's a great like show. So it's great.
And here we are, just sitting back with our popcorn, and our coffee, just sitting back watching. Hey!
That's kind of the
You guys
joy
pulling your
of it,
hair
though,
out.
like, you guys,
I know.
you know how stressful
It's
it's
the magic.
been, and then it kind of to pull it off at the end of it. It's just that feeling of satisfaction must be incredible. I know, like, watching, but even like it's not just maybe the setup of the tracks, but it's thinking about how on earth you're actually going to be able to fly in certain locations. I know the Romania, was it, with the salt mine?
Yeah. That was
the
insane.
obstacles,
That looked
the
amazing.
Signals bouncing off of things, or
Yeah.
flying around a Ferris wheel. Like, I mean, I know for a fact. I mean, we've got some old World War II structures over here, big concrete and steel, and I flew around the back of one at one point, just trying a quick little nice orbit of this thing. Completely cut all signal. And I'm kind of watching you guys flying around inside a salt mine, Salina Terda, in the like hundreds of meters underground, around Ferris wheels and down into lakes. It just blows my mind. It must be a crazy technical setup for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Lots of cables.
designing the locations. It's a lot of work. I mean, it was a lot of people. I mean, you will think that
I mean, we used to think before I started doing this job, I thought like, you know, sure, you do a track, you place a couple of gates in the field, you're done, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that couldn't be further from reality. I mean, when designing a track, we're designing the entire location, right? So we need to take care of, all right, where is the track? Where is the audience? Where are the cameras, right? Because you need first of all to make something watchable for for both live and TV product, right? Then you need to start building a track that needs to be, you know, challenging and interesting and not too hard. And you need to also to not be too risky, because then if all the teams like destroys their quad, then you arrive at the final when
you got no one left.
Right? So it needs to be you know, interesting. Then you need to have the sponsors visible for the cameras. Like then you need to build like the system of protection for the audience. And it goes like from giant nets to, you know, whatever, like or padding and all sort of things. And that thing needs to be buildable with a reasonable amount of money, right? You just don't, you cannot just, you know, build anything you want. So
and time as well. I mean, you can't shut a city down for a whole, you know, 2-3 weeks just to you gotta get in. Get it up.
We gotta
get it done, get it out.
Everything in 3 days, right? And you need to worry about how the truck is gonna get there, how the stuff that we're bringing is gonna get
the logistics behind it all.
There must have been a lot of trips up and down the elevator in Selina Turner, just doing one thing at a time.
Elevator and a 300 meters tunnel that you need to go through, because it's not just straight down. But anyway. And then there's the technical stuff, like the video signal and control signal. That's another completely different topic. Like, you know, you know, there's different technologies out there. There's different systems, and even once we settled, eventually we settled with the system from IRC for the video signal. That was the most challenging, of course, because at the same time, of course, you had 8 pilots flying, right? Not just 4, like 8 in the beginning. Which makes it so much fun, so you actually need to find the right places. You need to imagine all of this when you're not even there, when you're on the other side of the war. So you need to figure out where you're gonna place your repeaters, like your receivers, all around the track. Then you need to build it. Then you need to test it, to change what didn't work. To find why the heck that receiver 200 meters down the line doesn't work, because there's one little cable that got damaged, and then you need to find the cable and replace 200 meters of cable. You know, it's a massive
one thing after another.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when things go wrong, like you don't sleep.
I just love the idea that you signed up as a kind of video game kind of programmer sort of thing. All of a sudden, why am I tracing cables through a mine 200 meters underground? What did I sign up for?
Why am I worrying about logistics companies?
Then you have unexpected problems. Like, for instance, in Madrid, right? Like, we built this giant net roof. Like, the original plan was to have that we were able to pull them on one side, so that at night between one race and the other, we would be able to pull them on one side. And of course, catch the drones that were, you know, stuck in the net.
Because they will be.
Right. Unfortunately, that way of building the nets didn't work out. So we needed to use a different system where they wouldn't move. So, so what do you do with the drones stuck up there?
Need a big
and
stick.
By the way,
big stick.
The quads, 40 meters up.
There's
no stick long enough.
No stick big enough.
And by the way, those stupid quads are still transmitting and receiving.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so, true. Video signal. That's
exactly. So and basically we had Tony from IRC basically literally developing features on the firmware for
the shut them down.
Like to have, for instance, like automatic shutdowns that you can control from the outside, right?
That's
like
so cool.
Wow.
Those for the videos and to figure. And I remember one night over there in Madrid, like brainstorming ideas in front of beer and tapas, and to try to figure out. I think I still have the paper on try to figure out how we could stop the receivers from working to shut down the quad. So nowadays it's fine. There's a feature on Betafly where you just you just shut down the whole thing.
Shut it
right?
down.
It didn't exist at the time. So you could have, and I cannot confirm nor deny that happened. That a race is starting, and then you have a quad that was stuck in the nets. Start flying on its own. Like,
Oh no!
because it was still bound to another drone flying, right? So I would not
that's
confirm or
hilarious.
deny that happened, right?
Yeah, man.
Anyway,
That's
so yeah,
crazy.
a lot of
That's awesome.
real races are always a Pandora's box of amazing things that you will never think that would be a problem, and they regularly are, and you need to figure it out, right?
I think we love that about DCL though. Like the hybrid season thing is just so good because it gives us the opportunity. I mean, it gives us as pilots the opportunity to fly and engage and then we jump into Twitch chat and we're all kind of chatting there. But I think that's one thing we have really missed the last sort of year and a half is the ability to just kind of meet up. Just kind of fist bumps and
Watch an event.
watch the race and just that kind of that. Again, there's a great thing about DCL is that you maintain that online community and then you kind of have the races where everyone can kind of meet up and be like, oh, I've never seen you before. How's it going? Like,
it's like, hey, dude.
But the real life aspect.
Plus, man, the real life races are very special, and God, I can't wait. I can't wait to go back and doing those because, first of all, watching like an actual drone race, especially like big hits with 8 quads flying at the same time, guys.
Just incredible.
The sound of it, absolutely. Yeah. That's what I was about to say, like. The sound, the adrenaline, the risk of it, right? Like the fact of, of course we had drones catching fire, but even for the pilots and stuff, it gets to you that adrenaline and that the emotion, like it's incredible. Plus, let alone like, I must admit, it is a different, feeling of satisfaction where. You've been working for months, like designing and imagining a location and a track, etc. And then after so much work, you just sit in the middle of it and you look around. And I say, holy shit!
It's reality.
We did this.
This was like this big on my monitor for this whole time, and now it's massive, right?
It's all lit up and colourful, and man, I bet.
Well, and the fans are there and they're engaging, and it's awesome. And they're enjoying it. Like that'd be the biggest rush.
For
sure.
I really can't wait to get back to do that.
So as far as environments, then, I mean, you mentioned there's some new stuff in the pipeline. Is it more fun for you to map a real life location, or to come up with something completely off the top of your head, brand new? As a pilot, is it more fun to to think about a real life location where you can plan a track around existing things in the environment, or do you find more satisfaction in building an environment sort of from the ground up? And thinking about lines you'd like to fly, and then finding ways to build things to facilitate that?
Yeah, sure. No, obviously, I mean, it's quite straightforward, meaning that, yes, of course, like when you create an environment completely from scratch, you have more creative freedom to do whatever you like, which is fun. But of course, the real life thing has this connection with real life, which is always special, right? Especially if you eventually get to sit there and actually fly that truck in real life.
True.
It's and see the physicality of it. It's really special. So it definitely balances out the practical design limitations that it gives you, just because you know, because it's real, because you can feel it, because you can touch it, you know. It has that special thing that is entirely in our brain, right? I mean, for flying the track per se, you know, it's the same difference between flying a drone in a sim or in real life, right?
Real life, yeah.
Basically, I mean, you're still in front of a screen and the transmitter is still the same, but you can't deny that there's, you know, a rush of adrenaline and a feeling of knowing that that's real, that's a physical object.
The adrenaline comes from knowing that if you mess up,
my wallet's going to get lighter.
Problems. the wallet's going to get lighter.
But not only, that's not only fear, I think. Like I heard about this, and it's not only the fear of flying. It's really the perception of knowing that there's a little robot that you're controlling. A little flying robot that is flying around in a real place. Like you can hear its noise. You can hear its. You can feel the air moving when it passes. There's a physicality to it that it makes it really special and gives you a lot of emotion. That is not just the fear of breaking stuff, right?
No,
it's a lot more than that. Because if it was only that, I mean. You will see very young pilots. We had 9 and 10 years old pilots like racing in real life DCL races, and we were talking about it, and you see that they don't have fear of breaking stuff. They don't care, right? They just hey dad, turn on my quad, I want to fly, right? And while you have an adult worrying about, oh god, I just made a crash that cost me like $200 of the motors and cameras, right? Like,
literally me every time I fly.
Right? So they fly in a way more recklessly, but they still get that adrenaline rush and that emotion of flying. So it's not just the fear of breaking something, because they don't have that, right? They don't care.
Very true.
But not bound by conception.
Yeah. It's just that emotion of flying that is visceral and it's great.
I think you're right. I mean, we used to get it like as a kid. Like there's a lot of on our island here. There's a lot of motorsports events. It's like there's a lot of history of kind of racing cars up hills or kind of drag racing on the big long coast roads and stuff. And we get a lot of that. And I remember as a kid, like you say, it wasn't for me. It wasn't about the risk of this guy might crash, he might fly off the side of the hill into the marina or something like that. It was the sound and it was the spectacle and it was seeing stuff and the noise of feeling it in your chest as these cars kind of shot past at 100 miles an hour. You're right. I think as you grow older, I mean, I found it even skateboarding and stuff. Like as I get older, I'm less inclined to learn to kick flip and do all these tricks because I'm like, I'll break my legs. whereas when you're a kid, you don't care about that. It just looks cool.
You're invulnerable.
You just send it. But you're right though. It really is the experience of flying. These bigger quads, like because they are a big quad in comparison to your 5-inch races and lower. And Shane, you know this from flying your APEX build. You hear it coming. You'll take off and you'll go full punch, and the sound's like, yeah, sweet. And you'll be flying around. And you'll come past for a speed pass, and you can audibly hear it coming at you, and you just it's an absolute rush, and to have up to 8 of them racing around you, like
when I saw that,
we need some real life races going.
8 at a time. What?
Yeah,
that was crazy.
Plus, I mean, as he mentioned, like these quads that we use are nearly double the weight of your regular racing rig. And they're usually going with a 6S and 6 or 7-inch props. So they're loud. They're really loud.
They are. I was actually really surprised on how loud they were until I took it off. And the first time I full punched it, I was like, whoa, wow, that's got the noise to it.
A real rip,
And they're not as loud as an X class drone.
No, certainly not.
But is this more like screaming loud, like kind of like it screams like a 5-inch, but
it's got high pitch to it.
But it's very strong and powerful noise. And when you have 8 of those that start at the same time, man.
But that's it.
That's
one is crazy. I mean, I've got a field that I fly usually when I get a chance, and even taking the 5-inch round there. I mean, when you're screaming around the trees and stuff, and all of a sudden the neighbors come out and they're like, "What the hell's going on? What is this?" And I'm like, "Geez, like DCL are flying 8 of these at a time, you know, like, it's absolute madness." Yeah, I'm
one
so
of the best was actually the Madrid race in 2018, because being a theater,
enclosed,
an
yeah,
arena,
the
like
acoustics.
if you were in the center of it, like you will just turn around and watch the entire thing unfold in front of your eyes.
So cool.
And you were always like 30, 40 meters from the quads all the time. So you had these entire acoustic of these entire thing. It was a really special race to watch like live. Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, as I said, we really need to get real life racing up and going again, and hopefully, fingers crossed, at the end of the season, the DCL can actually have their finals in real life. If that actually happens, are you going to be there, Filippo, or is that just a stupid question? Or is that just a stupid question? Seriously. Yeah.
I've been waiting a year and a half, so yeah, definitely I will be there. Like even if I have to swim there. So yeah.
I better start paddling now. All right, I'll start paddling now, and I'll get there in time. So yeah, no, I think that's going to be an amazing experience. And just talking about the rush, though, I got to admit, a lot of people just going back to DCL for the last week with the limited attempts run. I know a lot of people have been complaining about that. They've been disgruntled and whatever else. I got to admit, after flying, I'm hooked. Like I honestly think it is the biggest rush. Like I've always said, you know, Alpha Prop's full of grinders, and we do grind and whatever else, even with the draft. But what was funny, I did the first teams event with the limited attempts, went off and did that, and I was shaking. Right, I was absolutely shaking after. I was like, "This is so good. This is like plugging in your first ever 6S pack and fully sending it. You're coming back going, ooh!" But it was absolutely amazing. But then I went back. I thought, right, I'm going to leave that. I'll do the solos later. So I've gone back and did the draft attempts, and I was just like, I didn't even care anymore, because I was like, I got all the time in the world. This is great. But I got to admit, a lot of people have been complaining about that, or been disgruntled about it or whatever.
Just one, really.
He's been loud. He's been loud, though. Let's be honest.
No, but I mean, fair enough. Like, you know, we accept criticism.
It is a change.
Like, it's fine. It's fine. Like it's normal when you change something. Like it's normal.
Yeah, you can't make everybody happy all the time.
Some people are not. Like, fair enough. And of course, if you have, I mean, we did this exactly for what you're saying. So that kind of like a different
real world rush
stakes. Yeah. And also because there was like something that we've discussed for a long time with the team managers of the real teams, that you know, they have no use. I mean, they have little use for grinders, right? Like
I know, I agree.
If you grind a track for 48 hours and you just get lucky once, that doesn't mean that you're
a great pilot
able to perform in a race scenario, right?
Absolutely.
Let alone in the real world, where you don't have unlimited attempts in the real world. So that was important.
Key,
Yeah. And now with this, like this matters now, right? I mean, by all means, like again, like as I said before, like everyone is entitled to their opinion, and it's fine to voice it, and we appreciate it. So, in fact, like the reaction to it was overwhelmingly positive.
Positive, right? Actually, yeah.
You know, we discussed this with maybe a couple dozen people on Discord, and only one was negative about it. So you know that's what I call a great success, right? Yeah. Gotta make everybody happy. But and now, I mean, in the upcoming weeks, we will be experimenting with different settings, like you know, the limited the attempts, the number of attempts that you have available, the minimum number of flights that you have to submit to qualify for an event. We're gonna be experimenting a bit with these numbers to find. Yeah, definitely. And we surely do also other events where that limitation will not be there. So there will be plenty of at least in
Variety.
the trials, there will be plenty of variety and time, you know, and space for somebody who likes one way or likes it the other way to have it their way.
Shane, there'd be a track that you could turn left, and there'd be a track that I turn right. Everything's great. You know, you'll be crap that week, and I'll be crap the other week. It's fine. Everybody gets a go.
But definitely the draft selection race, which will happen on the 22nd and the 23rd, it definitely is going to be with limited attempts, because if the goal is to qualify pilots for the real races,
Real
well
teams,
then that's exactly what the team ends.
This is exactly what we spoke about, and I know certainly we've got quite a big Instagram group chat on the go for the Alpha Prop team. And as soon as someone noticed that it was 3 attempts for this week, everyone was like, yes, this is so excited. And like, as people were setting their lap times, they'd be dropping pictures in the chat, or like they'd be there going, oh my God, I couldn't believe how like the adrenaline rush and all that. But that's it's another thing I've really enjoyed over the last year, is just the way that the game has kind of continually switched up. So we obviously, when we started with the things like the solo trials, the team trials, and it was the in-game tracks, and it was kind of like you'd already ground out times on those anyway. But we've seen so many new tracks, even or just variations on existing tracks. Like, and I know you guys have sort of really engaged with community content creators. Obviously, we've got the DCL, the track builder now, and you guys have just announced the competition. As well for track building. Whose idea was that? How did that kind of come about, the idea of kind of engaging and bringing community content into the game and utilizing that?
Well, I mean, the user-generated content thing concept was there from the very beginning of the game, just there hasn't been so far enough time and resources to do it properly until we finally released it what was it, a couple of months ago.
Let's go.
So yeah, I mean, it was always there, because I mean, obviously it's a resource, right? I mean,
sure.
There's as much as I and the other members of the team can be developing tracks, like we're always going to be limited to what we can do, right? And of course, if you can have the community create their own tracks, I mean, you're multiplying the amount of content available for everybody. Plus, it's also a tool for somebody who wants to design a race, for instance. Like if you need to prototype a real life race, I mean, that's the same thing I used to do for the real life tracks, right? Like I've always been like prototyping them in the sim. So yeah, it's a great tool to have, and we're kind of sorry that it took so long, because again, like we wish it was possible to publish it like a year before, but it wasn't.
You get there when you get there.
We got it. Yeah.
It was fun for that year. I don't think we missed it. It was we still had a good time.
Sure. But yeah, and now I mean the competition for track design, yeah, I mean, it was my idea, but it was a really like very basic idea, right? You have it, like we have some prizes from the sponsors. Obviously, it's fully in everybody's interest to stimulate a bit the community to create as much good tracks as possible. That's the other thing. Like our editor is slightly more complex to use, even just for the fact that you need to download a separate piece of software than the competition. But there was a conscious choice from our end, because again, first of all, because the resources were rather give a tool for the power users. Let's more powerful tool for the most dedicated users, rather than a simpler tool, more available to everybody, that will, I don't care about having 2,000, 3,000 tracks on the workshop if they're all crap, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I'd much rather have fewer tracks that are awesome and
good
then
quality.
by dedicated people, rather than the other way around. for obvious
sure.
reasons, right? Like you're just diluting the content you have, and then the whole thing feels worse if the general quality is lower. So that's what we had in mind, even if the editor is might be a little bit less immediate to get to. Not that it's hard, because eventually the tools are the same, moving around objects and putting down. It's not much different from the others. It's just a bit more of a hurdle to go over to get into it in the first time. But then it's much more powerful than all the others, right? There's stuff that you can do that you can absolutely not do with any of
the others.
We spoke with Pressure a couple of months ago, and he was sort of saying that he loved the idea of it because he's able to go in and not just put a track into an environment, but he's looking now at building an environment. The ability to, and that's something you just don't see in so many other kind of any games really. Is anything with a track creator, it's like, well, here's your environment, draw a line and follow that, and there's your track. The DCL version, to be able to literally go in and build something, if you've got the time and you're dedicated enough, you can build something from the ground up. You could build a whole town, a whole
build the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously there are limitations in what you can do. I mean, it's not. There are some mod editors for other games where you can literally 3D model your own assets and textures, etc. But we didn't want to go that far. It would have been far more complex, and
you're building a whole new game at that point, I think.
But the type of assets that you let the user use, it's important, right? I mean, you can make like stuff of any kind. The library of objects that you can use and the way you can use them is very large, and that allows you to create some stuff. I mean, there was one of the users who created like a Colosseum out of it with aqueducts and stuff. Like, I think it's MT2, his name.
Yeah, he did the one in Vaduz recently as well, with the power generator thing, and it blew my mind when I saw that for the first time. I was like, "What's this?" The thumbnail looked kind of weird in the Steam Workshop. I downloaded that, jumped in, and I was like, "What the hell?" I didn't even know it was Vaduz. I was like, "Where is this?" It was incredible, but it's great to see that creativity coming out.
We hope that the people are going to keep enjoying it and keep creating awesome content for everybody to share. And again, these contests we did is again just to make the community more aware that these exist. Hopefully
they can get on it.
Encourage new people to try it out. And also give some reward to the best ones, right?
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I think we've chewed Filippo's ear off more than enough, and we muchly appreciate his time, because I can guarantee we could sit here all night and Filippo would be like, "Oh, get me out of here, you guys! Seriously,
got stuff to do this weekend.
Got stuff to do." It's Sunday night and we're still going. and let's be honest, I think we all need sleep after everything that's been going down with the draft and everything else for the last 48 hours. So I'm just like, I'm good. So I'm gonna say thank you very much, Filippo, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we appreciate all your work and all of the DCL's work and the devs. And massive shout out to DCL Jess for looking after the fort while you're away and everything else, and just been going on and supporting us at the APEX Community Webcast also. Yeah. It's been fantastic. So congrats to the whole team. Congratulations.
Wait for the season as well. Like so much.
Oh, the season. Yeah, it's going to be brilliant.
June is coming, boys.
June.
It cannot come soon enough. I'm giving you that hot tip, all right?
Oh wait, hang on. There's stuff. We need to finish stuff.
Well, that's true.
I need the rest of the stuff.
Deadlines. No,
deadlines. You'll push through. We've already just heard that you'll just push through no matter what. So come on, get on it. Let's go.
No, we can't wait, man, and we will absolutely see you guys in chat on Twitch or wherever you guys are streaming this year. We will be there 100%. It's going to be incredible.
For sure.
Hashtag Matsing.
You know it. Take my energy.
I've been pestering him already, and I think everybody else has. So he's going to have to sing this season. If he doesn't, he's not in for 2022. All right, we're going to have to write it into his.
Yeah, he's been on Twitch quite a lot recently. I'm going to try and drop in on some streams and just kind of pester him.
Just randomly drop him.
Warm up the vocal
that'll
cords.
fix him.
Give him some love. I mean, he's absolutely
sure.
great and an icon for DCL. He's really the face of DCL and such an incredible voice and talent. We love him.
Yeah.
We love
Every
him very
time
much.
we see him, it's just Matt is DCL. Like you do like.
That's
we
it.
love him. So good.
All right, so I'd just like to say thank you very much again, Filippo, for coming on and all your hard work and the whole teams. Make sure that you check out all the links below, as per normal, guys, and check out the APEX Community webpage over at Facebook. Make sure you check out the APEX merch over at apex.com and the APEX Community merch, which is coming in, guys. The store is live. We will check it out, and I'll get some on in the next little while so I can show it out. For all your goodies, and yeah, until next time, fly safe,
Fly fast. Download DCL the game.
yeah, download DCL the game, get in their DCL Discord, make sure you like, subscribe all their channels and everything else. We're going to leave them down below anyway. You just go and do the good things, people. All right, until next time,
Bye, guys.
later, guys.
Catch you laters.
Bye.